Okay. Okay, that's the position. Okay, so all right, so welcome back everyone. This is week 9 of the generative AI course. Got a new face in front of you. I mean, I was here a few like near the start of this course. I've returned. I think Faz is taking a break this week. So my name is Midhat. For those of you that maybe don't recognize me or joined maybe recently, I'll be taking the session for today. And today what we're going to be looking at is we're going to be looking at I guess, the multiverse of large language models. And by that, what we mean is we're going to be looking at more LLMs and more chatbots aside from ChatGPT. Because ChatGPT gets all the noise these days, but there is a lot of other chatbots that are available, and we'll be looking into some of those that are out there. Yeah, I think for those of you that maybe just joined recently, I know I keep repeating myself, so apologies for those that have heard me say this multiple times. But if you've just joined, just make sure you do check in by either scanning the QR code, or I've pasted another link in the chat as well. Just fill out the form, sign in for every week, just so you know at the end of the week, if you've completed the session, you get the recordings sent out to you by email, and also you get a certificate of completion at the end as well. Okay, yeah, so like I mentioned, the main plan for today is we're going to be looking at the multiverse of LLMs, and we're going to be looking at basically alternatives to ChatGPT. Hopefully everyone's sort of heard about ChatGPT. We've used it in quite a lot of our previous sessions, and it gets all the noise by the media. But there are obviously a lot more LLM chatbots out there, and they're quite useful for certain tasks. ChatGPT is often good for certain things. There are also other LLMs which are good for other things, and they all have their own disadvantages, advantages, strengths, and weakness in what they can actually do. So we'll be looking at some of those right now, testing them for ourselves, and maybe you might run into something that might be useful for you. So we've got handpicked examples from our team who have sort of experimented with some of these chatbots themselves, and we'll be looking at those specifically. Okay, so the first one is Microsoft Bing. So there's actually a chatbot built into Bing that is basically using the same model that ChatGPT is using. So it is using GPT-4, and it's integrated within Bing. So when you make a Bing search, or if you, I know everyone uses Google these days, but when you go into search for Bing, it has the sort of response from the chatbot alongside it as well. And it also has the ability to generate images as well. So you can actually use this as part of Copilot. It's also similar to Copilot as well. If those of you that are on Windows 11, I think Windows 10 has got it now as well. If you've used Copilot within Windows 10 or 11, it's effectively the same model as that, but it's integrated within Bing. So we've got some tasks that we will be doing. But what I will do is I'll actually paste the link to this in the chat. So hopefully everyone can just open the link I've sent. And if you open it, it should bring you to a page that looks just like this. So I'll give everyone maybe just a few minutes, or well, maybe 30 seconds or so just to open it up. And once you've done so, just a quick thumbs up just to let me know that you've managed to do it would be great. Yeah, I can see some thumbs up. Yeah, thank you. I'll just give everyone just another minute or so. Yeah, so Lewis, Dean, Salvador. Yeah, John as well. Yeah, I'm getting quite a few thumbs up then. Yeah. Okay, just maybe 30 more seconds. Okay, I think most people have got it. If not, hopefully it shouldn't take you too long to get the rest of it up. But what we will do is we're going to do this with all of the language models that we'll be looking at today. We've got a few tasks that we're going to try and do just to evaluate how well these models may be for our everyday use. So the first task, if you can see on the left-hand side of my screen, is we're going to be just exploring with the chat mode. So in the previous weeks, we probably explored a lot with ChatGPT and used ChatGPT for its capabilities. I know for a few sessions we looked at, its coding capabilities, for example. We're just going to be looking at the Bing chatbot's capabilities of just having a conversation. So we're just going to go to it and you know, just experiment with it and just see, just choose a topic that we want and just see how good its response is. So does anyone want to maybe suggest a topic that we can search for maybe? Feel free to either, put it in the chat or, either raise your hand and unmute yourself. So yeah, got a topic about picture creation. Yeah, that's also another task actually. So we've got two tasks. One will be picture creation, one will be chat. I'm going to focus on chat for the moment. So anyone want to suggest a topic and see it. Yeah, we've got one thing from, is it Kimesha? I think we've got graduation party decor. So maybe you want to ask it, suggest some ideas for graduation party decor. And you can see that here we've got three different options, right? So we can either select it to be more creative, more balanced, or more precise. So for example, let's say for graduation party decoration, it might be a more creative approach, right? So we can just, type it in and then click the submit button. And it will take some time. I think this is a little bit slower than regular ChatGPT sometimes. And you can see it's given us some ideas like so. So yeah, so it's graduation cap inspired desserts, textbook cake, for example. And in fact, you can see here, it's sent us a link to some of the sources it's used. So it's scanned lots of articles online, let's say, and it's picked out some sources. So in fact, if you click these links, you can see where it's actually taken these ideas from. So you can see the first idea that it had was graduation cap inspired desserts, and it's in fact taken us to this page where we've got this source for where it's taken the ideas from. And I believe this would be similar for the second one. So it's got some more ideas, um, and it's taken some ideas and summarized them in bullet points, for example. Yeah. So your options may not have. I think some people said yeah. So your options may not have the option for conversational style. Potentially, it might not. But for those of you that do have it as an option, if not, don't worry about it too much. Is there a usage limit? I don't believe there's a usage limit on Copilot at all, unless I think with the sort of pro version there may be, but I don't think with the base version there is, as far as I remember. Okay. So the first step is just getting you guys to experiment with this yourself and see what options you get. So we'll talk about chat mode. Yeah. So in fact, yeah, I think John's raised a good point actually. Even if you use the same prompt sometimes, you'll get slightly different responses. So it doesn't, even with the exact same prompt, there is always some variation with it. So you may get some sort of different answers. Yeah. So yeah, got a late sign in from someone. Yeah, I'll paste the link to the check-in form in a second. Sorry, 1 second. I think I need to find it. Sorry, bear with me a moment. Yeah, sorry. If anyone's just rejoined, I've just repasted the check-in link. Yeah, so if okay. Yeah, so the first task I just want everyone to do, just maybe just have a look at exploring the chat mode. Just select a prompt, and I'd love to see your ideas and see what it has come up with, and just see how good is it? Is it providing accurate information, or is it not? So I'll give everyone maybe just a minute to do that, or a few minutes. And once you're sort of happy with it, either post your response in the chat or just a quick thumbs up always never goes amiss. Yeah, so Daniel's pretty happy with that. Brilliant. Yeah, okay. So yeah, we've got quite a few thumbs up from people. John, Pam. Okay, maybe just 30 more seconds, just for anyone that's sort of still experimenting with it, and then we'll go on to the next thing, which is image generation. Okay, I think we'll move on to the second task that we have, which is going to be image generation. So yeah, so quite simply, if you've used DALL-E before, if anyone's used DALL-E in ChatGPT, it is effectively the same thing. You would just need to type your prompts out for the image you want to generate in the chat box, and it will just generate your images. And we'll just experiment with it and see how good the images are, what the limitations are of it, and so forth. Okay. So yeah, we'll go out here. Go back. Okay. If you want to start a new topic, you can click this button at the bottom left, which will just say new topic, and it will just bring up sort of a new topic, and then we can start fresh. Okay, so does anyone want to actually suggest anything that we want an image to generate? Could be anything at all. Either, feel free to either unmute yourself or just drop it in the chat, and we'll generate this image. Okay, so we've got one suggestion for hands. Okay, let's see if we can do that. So let's say, can you generate an image of hands? Now, AI models often can can mess up generating hands sometimes. Like sometimes it adds extra fingers and so forth. So it does take a little bit of time, but we'll hopefully in a little bit we should see that we get four images that come up. So I'll just wait for that. It will take a little bit of time. Yeah, so you can see, yeah, we do have some hands, but you can see that there are some limitations. You can see that it's it's kind of strange. Like some of these hands have extra fingers. You can actually count the fingers on these hands. They're a little bit weird. So yeah, so one of the limitations of AI models that I've found, especially image generation ones, is that it struggles a lot to generate hands. So you can see even in this image right here, it's a little bit weird and it's not doing it properly like you would expect. We've got some other suggestions. Let's see how these go. So let's see, I've got a option, let's say generate a chihuahua with wings. I think that was suggested by someone. Like by Brandy, I believe. Yeah. So let's have a look and see how well this does. It will take some time again. Yeah, and it's gone for maybe let's say a cartoon style. So maybe let's say you are not happy with it. So it's not really a chihuahua. Look, but maybe let's say we change it to more of a realistic style. So in fact, it's given me a prompt for that. So let's see how well it is at changing it to more of a realistic style. It's very cartoony at the moment. Let's see if it's how well it's going. Oh, yeah, okay. It's because okay, it's gone off. It's gone off this. Let's say we can you generate a realistic image of realistic chihuahua. Let's see if that works. Yeah, I think Brandy's just asked me about what the options for different Copilot are. So we've got Copilot, Designer, Vacation Planner, Cooking Assistant, and Fitness Trainer. I think before we talked about custom GPTs in ChatGPT, it's effectively very similar to that. Um, so if you wanted you wanted, let's say, a vacation planner, you could suggest select the vacation planner, and you could ask it about that specifically. So it's more custom. So it's just some pre-made ones. If you don't have them, I believe it might be because you're not signed in. Potentially, if you sign in with a Microsoft account, there's it would probably be that might be the issue. But I'm not too sure about that. It might just be the website you're on potentially. I'm not sure, but I believe it's because you're not signed in. But these are just some specific sort of custom GPTs, like say. Yeah. So yeah, if you're on the protected version by your company, so if you're signed in with a work Microsoft account, then potentially that might be the issue. Then yeah, it won't allow you to generate an image unless you sign in. Okay. Uh, yeah. So, sometimes, yeah, I think that's some of the limitations. But yeah, at least without signing in, you can use the chat at the very least. Yeah, I think okay. So Eric's given a response which says yeah, like it's unable to generate, I think, photorealistic images, but it can generate some images that are somewhat realistic, I think. Yeah, so that's interesting. Does that mean that different templates use different source data? Yes. I wouldn't necessarily, yeah. I mean, I don't know exactly how these models work because these companies won't ever reveal to you exactly how their models work. But potentially that is the case. It could potentially be that some models have additional information provided, or it could just be trained to respond in a certain way, or the data set is, let's say, a little bit limited, so it only put so for let's say for cooking, for example, you know it wouldn't have the data for, let's say, maths capabilities, for example. It would just, look at trying to find meal recipes and so forth, whatever it may be. Okay, so hopefully that's an introduction into Bing. We've got quite a few more to cover, so I won't go through all the tasks for each one, but hopefully you can see we've done the sort of chat and the generating of images with this. So yeah, so that's yeah. Some of the advantage I think we've had is we've had different conversation modes. So we had the option to use the vacation planner or the meal planner, let's say, and it credited sources. I think we saw at the very start we had some links to additional websites where it got its ideas from and where its information actually came from. So it obviously provides some somewhat reliable information. It's not just making stuff up. So it gives you some confidence with that. But you probably did see that the responses were quite slow, especially for, let's say, image generation. I'm not sure if many people have experience with DALL-E and ChatGPT, but that generates images quite a lot faster. Whereas here we sort of have to wait, a minute or two for those images to generate. So it's a little bit slower than regular ChatGPT. But the advantage is obviously it is free, so you know you get what you pay for, I guess. Okay. So we've got another AI model, which is called Perplexity AI that we'll cover. So again, it's very similar to ChatGPT and the Bing's chat, but the main advantage is that it has the ability to sort of actually go to it. Where is it? Yeah, there we go. It has the ability to choose different modes. So I'll paste the link to Perplexity AI in the chat. Um, and you guys can have a look at that. The main advantage is that it has different modes. So if you click on focus right here, if you once you were to open up the chatbot, you could see that it's got different options that are specific to certain use cases that might be particularly useful for work. So for example, if you were trying to, write a master's thesis, for example, you might have a look at the academic section and it will search specific academic published papers. Or if you're trying to, write an article, you can select writing and so forth, and it will be sort of tailored to writing a paragraph, let's say. Or if you're wanting sort of mathematical capabilities, you can choose Wolfram Alpha. You've got YouTube as well if you want to search for a specific YouTube video, or if you want to go onto Reddit for whatever reason, you can search for discussions and opinions. So just as a quick example, I think we've got some tasks, I believe, right here. So the task for this one, I will leave this up for the benefit of the recording. So if you want to come back to this and have a go at these two specific tasks, feel free to sort of pause the recording here and have a go at them. But I think we're just going to use it. We're just going to have a look at the multimodal search option, and maybe just have a look at, let's say, the YouTube option. So let's go back to here. Sorry. And let's say we want to search YouTube. Does anyone want to make a quick suggestion about what we could actually search for? Maybe just drop that in the chat, and we'll see how well it does. So best tries of the Rugby 2023 World Cup. Let's see how well this does. So yeah, it's given yeah. So in fact, you can see it's actually fairly quick. So you can see it's given us some answers. So let's have a look. So if you open these links, I believe it will take us directly to YouTube, and you can see the videos getting played in the in the player as well. So obviously you can click this button and it will direct you straight to YouTube if you'd like. I'm getting an ad, but hopefully you get what I mean. Okay, so yeah, so it's actually a really good option. So if you're looking at a specific sort of specific sort of use case, whether that's searching YouTube, Reddit, for example, Perplexity AI is a good use for that, and it's obviously giving you some more prompts towards it. Okay, I'm not going to spend too long on this because I think we could spend ages trying to experiment with these things, and there's a few more models I'd like to cover. So I'll leave the tasks up here. If you'd like to go back and watch the recording in your own time, obviously feel free to do so and have a go at it. But these obviously have lots more capabilities. So yeah, some of the advantages are, again, I think like with Bing, it does cite its sources, and it's obviously got lots of different options so you can search YouTube, Reddit, for example, and so forth. Um, some of it can be an issue where, especially when you're writing, you can run into some issues with plagiarism because sometimes it does like straight lift the text from articles. So be very careful if you're using, let's say, the writing approach. So it might just directly copy from sources. So be careful if you're, particularly worried about plagiarism, for example. Okay. There's another model which is by Anthropic. Again, very, very similar to ChatGPT. In fact, it serves almost the same purpose. You've got Claude. Um, Again, it's in fact very similar. It's not too dissimilar. The only difference with Claude is it has very good, I guess, it has very good reasoning and summarization, but it's limited in the sense that it can't access the internet like ChatGPT 4 could with access to Bing or with Perplexity AI. So, but it does have quite good reasoning. I will paste a link to Claude in the chat. You can have a look at Claude if for those of you that are interested. But I won't do the tasks for this at the moment. But I will leave them up here. So there's two tasks if you'd like to have a go at them in your own time. One is uploading a file and see how well it summarizes that file. And the second one is just having a regular conversation with it and just see how well it responds to it and see, is it better than ChatGPT? Is it, or Perplexity or Bing? How well is it? How well is it conversing with you effectively, and how accurate is its responses? Yeah, I'll leave this up for anyone that wants to have a look at it in the recording. So you can feel free to pause the video here and have a go at these tasks. Okay, yeah, and then yeah, so some of the advantages of it, obviously it's free to use and it's fairly quick to respond. Also, there is a premium model. I think it's $18 a month, I believe. So it's slightly cheaper than the pro version of ChatGPT. And obviously the main limitation is that unlike ChatGPT, it can't actually access the internet, or Gemini as well, which is another model. It can't access the internet, but its premium version is quite good. It has good logical reasoning, and the premium version is cheaper than ChatGPT 4. Okay, so a safe to use LLM is I think believe it says that. So by safe to use, I believe it is the way it uses your data potentially. Um, in terms of how reliable it is. So I'm not sure. Do double check the terms. I know a lot of ChatGPT, they when you upload your information to ChatGPT, it does use the data that you provide it to train its model and see how accurate its response is. Same with Gemini. I believe you do get a warning where, when you upload something, I think Google put out a warning saying, if you upload any information to Gemini, um, a human is able to review the information that you provide it to evaluate how well the model is performing, basically. I This might have changed, but when Claude first came out, they weren't using user data to train their model. But this may have changed, and do check their terms and conditions, just to check, or if you're using sensitive data, for example. But I think we've had a lesson on this before where it's about be very careful about the information that you provide to these ChatGPT or any sort of LLM, because they do have the right to sort of use any data that you provide it. So if you're putting any sensitive information into it, um, they can use it. So don't give out your address to it, for example. Okay. Another one, I think, again, it's a very similar vein, is called Hugging Chat. This is particularly good for coding, and the main advantage of Hugging Chat, it has sort of a lot of different models you can sort of select from. So with Claude, or let's close some of these tabs from earlier. So with Claude, or let's say Bing, you've only got really one model, but you can select different, let's say, co-pilots, for example. But with Hugging Chat, one of the advantages is that you can select a specific model that you'd like to use. So I'll paste the link to Hugging Chat in the chat as well. And what you can do is you can select a specific model that you'd like to use. So if it's a little bit difficult to get, you can either do it from the left-hand side. Hopefully you can see here, we've got models right here. You can either select this and select a specific model you'd like to use, or you can select this at the bottom directly in the chat, and you can see that there's different models. So you've got Meta's Llama, which is um, just a model from Meta, who run Facebook. You've got Google's model, which is similar to the model that powers Gemini, let's say. And you've got Microsoft's Phi, which is, I think, it's not exactly the same as ChatGPT's GPT model, but it's very similar. You could have a look at the model pages if you'd like and see how well the models actually perform. I believe you get some information. If you're a very technical user, you can have a look at these models. But that's sort of the main advantage of Hugging Chat, is that you can select these different models and compare these models directly and see how well they are for your use case. Again, I will have a suggestion of the task that we will use. We won't do these directly, but have a look at these in your own time if you'd like. You can either have just a regular conversation or just have a look at the web access options and see how well it is, how well it does when it's given access to the internet and what information it comes up with. So the web access toggle, I believe, if we were to go to Hugging Chat, you can click on this button right here. It's either toggle it on or off to search the web, and the model will get some information from the internet to complement its answer. So try and experiment with the differences between having this turned off and turned on, and see how different the responses are and how accurate the responses are, let's say. But again, like I mentioned, seeing as we haven't got too much time and you could spend really ages on this, we won't spend too long on this. Okay, So main advantages is that it's good for coding, I'd say, and it can search the web, unlike Claude, for example. But sometimes with the when you do click for web access, sometimes it does get some network errors, so be wary of that. Okay, I think this is the last one, I believe. So this is Pi, which is a personal sort of AI psychiatrist almost. And it's obviously not a replacement for a actual therapist, but it does give you sort of a good sort of AI version of it. Obviously, this is not sort of medical advice. Don't just use as Pi for medical advice, but it is a very good AI therapist, let's say. So it's basically an AI chatbot that takes your responses and gives you sort of mental relief in certain aspects. I believe if you would like to like save your chats, you need to add a phone number like you do with ChatGPT. But I believe you can use it without the phone number, but it won't save your chats. So if I was to send the link in the chat, you can have a look at Pi. I believe for the first time you use it, you would need to, uh, I think, give it your name and sign up. But you can see that it gives you some it gives you a chat box as we would. It's giving you some topics you'd need to you could give you some ideas. So you could say how to say no, show your partner you care, and so forth. If you have issues with procrastination, it can give you some advice with that, let's say. Again, not a replacement for a direct therapist, but it is a personal AI that gives you sort of a friendly conversational manners, let's say. Okay, so that's another option. We'll put out the task for that. I believe this is the last one because I would like, let's say 10, 15 minutes for questions. So these are the few tasks that you can have a go at in your own time. You can just have a regular conversation with it, or just try and have a look at the mental relief assessment approach that it can provide. Okay, okay, yeah. So again, some advantages, disadvantages. It's a very quick response if want some sort of idea of a therapist, provide some good response to mental health questions. And a good advantage of it is when you sign up, I'm not sure if anyone's already having a go at this, but you can select from, I think, 9 different voices. So it will speak back to you in a voice that you choose, and it will, speak like a therapist effectively in a sort of like a neutered tone, let's say, and it will go along that. Okay. But some of the if you would like to save if you'd like to save your chats, of course, you would need to use a phone number, and sometimes the AI voice does have some errors as well. So, but that's obviously to be expected with sometimes with the way the AI voices work. Okay. So I've got to have around 10 minutes for specific questions or so. So, but about this, either about the specific models, or if you'd like to, ask about any specific you know other topics beyond LLMs and AIs. But hopefully throughout the session you've had an idea of what the capabilities of some different LLMs are and how there's a vast range of them. I know, yeah, like we said, sort of ChatGPT gets all the headlines, and I guess OpenAI was sort of the first guys in the door. But maybe in like 5, 10 years time, when these models sort of develop a little bit more, the market leader may very well be one of these companies that we've sort of gone over, let's say today, for example. Yeah, so it's all about experimentations. All of these uh, different LLMs have different use cases. They will have their different strengths and weaknesses. The only way to really find out what's good for a certain task is just to experiment with them and see what the strengths of them are really. Okay. So so final 10 minutes. I think I've got time for questions. Um, yeah, I think. Sorry, 1 second. I've been asked to provide the share sign-on link again, so I will just provide this over. So yeah, if anyone missed the sign-on link at the start, it is right there. But I do have, let's say, 10 minutes or so for questions at the end. So any particular questions that anyone has, either about what we've covered today or LLMs in general, or I will be happy to take them. Either, feel free to unmute yourself or, just drop it in the chat. It's perfectly fine. Yeah, will the presentation be sent to us? Yeah, so you will get the recording of these sessions. If you checked in at the start of the session, you will receive the recording sent out to you by Faz every week in his weekly updates. I don't think you'll get access to the slides directly, but at least the recordings you will have. So yeah, if you'd like to watch the recordings back and have a go at these specific tasks, for example, feel free to go there and just pause the video and just have a look at them. Yeah, so Lewis has got no questions. Okay, just maybe just another few minutes. So do any of these LLM companies sell the data that they're collecting from Brendy? Yeah, that's I mean that I wouldn't know specifically, but like I've mentioned sort of earlier today, what they definitely do with your data is use your data for training purposes. So they would obviously evaluate the responses that you put in and see how well the models respond to your responses and see whether that's something that they want. So I'm not sure about selling data specifically, but they definitely do use your data to evaluate their models and train their models, of course, because I think that's sort of the main goal of these companies to make their models as accurate as possible and as reliable as possible. So yeah. Yeah, so if a product is free on the internet, then you are the product. Yeah, so it's a lot of these things. So even if a product is free, there is it likely that the way that they do make money is either you're getting spammed with advertising, which is one of those, and if product doesn't really have adverts, it's likely that they are using your data in some way or another. But yeah, okay. Any further questions? So how do we access the previous presentations? I believe when you get the links to the recordings for each session, you should get a link for the previous sessions as well. If you're not actually, you can obviously, if you haven't got the links for the previous sessions, either drop us an email right here, hello@codingwithcodex.co.uk, and we can send those links over as well, if that's an issue. Yeah. So any issues with either recordings or further questions throughout the week that may pop up, drop us an email. We're always happy to get in touch. Also, if those of you that are on our community page, you can obviously also ask us a question in there. But email also works as well. Okay, just a few more minutes if anyone's got any more questions. Otherwise, I think we will wrap up. Okay, I don't believe there's any further questions. Okay, that's perfectly fine. Okay, so thank you all for listening. Yeah. So, would you like to send yeah, Brandy, if you'd like to send the link to the community page, I will just grab that in a second. Yeah. So, thank you for those of you that attend the session. A little bit of a shorter one today. Hopefully, you've learned something new about LLMs. And then believe next week is the final session. I'm not sure if I will be here, or I think Baz might be back actually. So, thank you all for coming. Any questions, of course, or any issues with the recordings, obviously drop us an email. We will be in touch. But thank you for coming. Okay then. Bye everyone.